my ambition as a musician is to create product that I would want to use if I was going to go record an album. And if I don't want to use it, I feel like I failed.
Yeah.
Your vibe creates your tribe is my mantra. And so my vibe is always we work together, we involve the people, we make products that as much as possible aren't crazy expensive. They have to be practical and they have to work really well. They have to be high quality. In many instances, that's a difficult road to tread because how do you make a great guitar? You have to learn a lot, and then will you continue to make a great guitar in the same factory? Not always, because there's something called attrition. People will leave, people will join, factories close, factories open. You need to always be navigating the seas and move where it's best to be. And I mean, all ships rise and fall in the same tide. Every guitar company knows this now, and it's the hard way.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Products of Music, where I share inside stories and expert insights on product innovation and music technology. In this episode, I speak with Rob Chapman, the founder of Chapman Guitars. Rob is a very well-known name in the guitar market, and he has a large YouTube channel with over 725,000 subscribers, as well as collaborated with many other channels, including notably Anderton's TV. Rob has been involved in many musical projects in the past, as well as other companies as well. So in this podcast, we'll be diving into where it all began and some of the stories that have happened over the years to lead him down the different routes that he's taken. So there's some really great insights for those interested in manufacturing and music technology, and generally how to think about being an entrepreneur in this guitar market. If you're watching on YouTube and you're not subscribed, please make sure to subscribe and share as well. It really helps grow the channel and ensure we get really great guests into the future. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or any other player, please do leave a rating and a review. Again, it really helps grow the channel. And hope you enjoyed this conversation with Rob Chapman. Thanks so much for having the conversation today. Really appreciate it. I know we've exchanged a number of emails in the last couple of months, and I'm really happy we've managed to nail down a date that works for both of us and have this conversation.
Mr. Wakeling, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm sorry it was harder to get hold of me than I would have liked it to have been.
All good. Well, yeah, actually, in preparation for this conversation, I watched a couple of your other interviews that you've done over the last couple of years. And one thing that I saw in one of them, you said that at one point you were thinking about opening a cafe. And I wonder, that's a good starting point. Why did you not open a cafe, and why did you end up launching a guitar company?
Okay, well, I need to correct the second half. I didn't decide to launch a guitar company. It just kind of happened for me. I'll address that part first, and then we'll delve into café. So I was offered a signature guitar by effectively Barnes and Mullins distribution in the UK, and we were going to make 50. We ended up making 500 of them. It became a bigger deal. Originally, it was to be launched under the brand name Gould, which was one of their own brands. And Bruce Perrin, who one of the directors and owners of Barnes and Mullins, said, "This is way bigger than we thought. You should launch this under your own brand." And I was like, "What? I just play guitar in a pub. I don't know what you're talking about." And he recommended that we just launch it under the name Chapman because it's my name. So we did. We sold 500 guitars. And then Lee Anderton got involved and said, "Oh, that did really well. Anderton's sold loads of them and made really good profit. Why don't we do it again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Let's do that. That sounds good," over a handshake sort of thing. And it just continued and became a business. I had no intention of launching a guitar company.
Yeah. Why did it sell 500 guitars straight away? Was that down to the audience you'd already built at that point? Is it just the product spoke for itself? What do you think was the cause of that?
I have a tribe of phenomenal, incredible people who follow what I do and interact with me. And I'm very fortunate that there are these incredible people that like what I do. And I think it was kind of at the pinnacle of YouTube coming to fruition. I had been very lucky to get in at the beginning. I love people and I love sharing what I do. It's just in me. I like people and I like sharing stuff. And it's never through any sort of look at me. It's a lot more about, this is awesome. Check this out. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah.
What do you think? Because guitar players all know what they're doing. They all know what they like. In my opinion, in this industry, guitar players really know, in some instances, a lot more than brands know. So I trust guitar players to tell me what's good and what's not good, or at least give me their opinion, and it should be respected. So I think because I led with collaboration just through the nature of who I am, the industry really liked that.
Yeah. What was that collaboration?
So what I did was, when Barnes and Mullins said, we'll make a Rob Chapman signature guitar, my response was, oh my God, that's unbelievable. But like, I love every guitar. I like Explorers, Bs, SGs, single cuts, double cuts. I just love every guitar in this room. And there must be 15, 20 guitars in this room. They all think I love them equally. I don't. Some of them I love more than others. But it's always a different guitar each day. So I am shape, style agnostic. I don't have a preferred shape. I mean, I will navigate more towards this kind of a thing, or maybe a T-type. But generally, I couldn't care what I play. And more to the point, it doesn't even have to be a Chapman. I'm not that guy. I'm a musician. I use whatever is right for the recording or for the gig, or if I have to play a PRS, I'll play a PRS. So it was the collaborative nature. And so what I did is I said, help me, tell me what you like. Let's build a guitar together, rather than let's make a Rob Chapman guitar. Because who cares about a Rob Chapman guitar? I wouldn't. So people came back and said, oh, you should flip the headstock. And I'm like, that's interesting. Let me try recording with that. Less nut ring on heavy rhythm. That's interesting. I like that for what I'm doing at the time with Dorje. And then, maybe a kill switch. That's cool. That's fun. It's interesting. I like it. We can do interesting riffing. Or a tremolo. And I'm like, I don't dislike tremolos, but I threw away the idea of using one when I got quite good with one, because I relied on it, and I'm not Jeff Beck. So I thought, you know what, Marty Friedman does great with that one. I'll just hardtail all of my trems. So the guitar came with a hardtail block. And I think it was involving people in the design that made them feel part of the brand, because they literally were part of the brand. Anyone that's voted on a poll is, as far as I'm concerned, is part of the Chapman family and the brand. Their DNA is in this stuff, and I love that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be about me. It's just got my name because I got lucky. And maybe I have some skills that made it easier for me to be the person that this would become a focal point on. But it's really about people that play music and want to play live and gigs, the circuit, and they need a guitar they can pick up and just play, which is why I think a lot of our artists are session players. I don't really talk about that a lot, but the majority of our artists are full-time session players. So, for example, there's a guy who plays Papa Roach, keyboard, guitar. He plays a Chapman. Joey from Ziegelbauer, from one of the biggest hip hop R&B bands on the planet, Rod Wave, multi-platinum selling art, plays a Chapman. Luke, even in Malta, is the biggest session guitar player here, plays a Chapman. And they don't play them because they want to be my friend. They could choose any guitar and any company would send them a guitar. They choose a Chapman because it works for them and what they want to do. My ambition as a musician is to create product that I would want to use if I was going to go record an album. And if I don't want to use it, I feel like I failed.
Yeah.
Your vibe creates your tribe is my mantra. And so my vibe is always, we work together, we involve the people, we make products that as much as possible aren't crazy expensive. They have to be practical and they have to work really well. They have to be high quality. In many instances, that's a difficult road to tread, because how do you make a great guitar? You have to learn a lot you know, and then will you continue to make a great guitar in the same factory? Not always, because there's something called attrition. People will leave, people will join, factories close, factories open. And you need to always be navigating the seas and move where it's best to be. And I mean, all ships rise and fall in the same tide. Every guitar company knows this now, and it's the hard way. I suppose if someone said, "What does Chapman do?" I would say, we listen to musicians and just people that love guitar, and we try to make like a real workhorse that works for them.
You mentioned a lot of things there that I want to unpack. There's a lot of really important points I think you raised, whether it's manufacturing, being agile, and where your operations are based on changing regulations. To bring it back to one of the earlier things you mentioned around your particular skill set, which enabled Chapman to kind of really go to where it did, and to have the great tribe around you. But what was your specific skills do you think that early on really helped push out the brand much more than it could have done without those skills?
You put me in an awkward position
You
because
can be
now,
modest and humble.
well, this is the thing. I am actually a modest and humble person, but my job demands that I blow my own trumpet and tell you what I'm good at. I think the thing is, I'm a regular dude that played guitar in pubs. I had some lucky breaks. I had some session work and did my thing in studios. And I can play a guitar. I can make a video. But when it comes to telling you what my special sauce is, I think if you look at what people like the most from me, it's my interaction with other people. So when I'm on my own, yeah, I can make a good video. I can make a good piece of music. Put me in a band or with somebody else, and suddenly it comes to life. There's a spark. There's something there because I love people and music, and I'm obsessed with the whole process of creating art or music or whatever it is. So, I mean, I'm a wordsmith. I'm good at talking. People have said I'm very friendly. I am, because I like people. I'm very honest, super direct, zero bullshit. What you get is what you see is what you get. WYSIWYG. I'm very interested in people. So generally, if you put me in a room with somebody that I don't know, I'll be asking them about them.
Mm.
I want to know what makes them tick. And when you are wired that way, I think you form stronger relationships. It's just more interesting to me.
It sounds like the big power of what Chapman has achieved success with is taking the company values, of which are basically your values, I think, by the sounds of it, and translating that into the brand, and that sense of collaboration linked to those values that you just instinctively have in you, it just have resulted
Yeah.
in that success. Would you say that's fair to say?
Yes, I did once have a job where I worked indirectly for Richard Branson, and I did meet him a couple of times, and I did learn some marketing from Richard Branson, and then I did maybe apply that to what I do.
There's the secret sauce.
Well, and I am definitely, and I hate this word, but I am an entrepreneur. I did an interview years ago for quite a high-end business magazine where I spoke about how I applied what I had learned in that industry to what I do now. But basically, you could whittle it down to playing music, being in about all this creative stuff that I'm obsessed with, whether it be language or food or artwork or photography or videography or making music. It's all the same thing. But if you treat it with respect and treat it like a real job, that you get more out of it. But you have to really believe in yourself. And then the other thing is, and I think I'm good at this, is that you need to trust people. Let them cook. You know what I mean? Like, I am not an accountant. I am not a sales guy. I trust the sales. So the team, I'm like, do your thing. You don't even tell me what you're doing. I can't judge your work. It's your work. Do your thing. And give people the respect and the trust to do their job to their best, and let them tell you if something needs to change, and listen to it, because I think a lot of people think they're amazing and then they just kind of have an ivory tower complex and then try and steer a ship in a way that doesn't work and it sinks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, steering that ship in times of difficulty and challenge, market conditions, let's say, have meant that not as many people are buying guitars, maybe it's a recession or whatever else it could be, or, some challenges along the way. Yeah. What is your approach to that?
Yeah. So, well, there are a number of ways. I don't just make money from owning a guitar company. I personally make my income from lots of different places. So I am not reliant on Chapman paying me lots of money.
Mm.
I think that's one of the biggest, in terms of just business advice.
Diversify a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't starve your business. Let it breathe. It can't be a passion project, although in mine definitely is, but it needs to be something that you don't starve.
Mm.
Don't maybe take a small salary. Don't always drain it with dividends, which is what I do. I just take a salary,
Mm.
and it's not a lot. I drive a Renault Megane that's like 15 years old.
That's my first car, actually.
Right. It's like, oh man, you can put kids in it and you can drive to the beach. I live in a flat, I'm very modest living. I shop at Lidl. I just got to take it easy, and you got to know what's important. It's not important to have fancy cars and huge houses and loads of stuff that you don't need, he says, looking at all these guitars. Just, there's a difference between what you need and what you really need, and also understanding that happiness is kind of not great, but peace is amazing, and when you have stability and confidence in your business and things become regular, you can focus on a peaceful living. And I really like that, what I do. And we're going to cycle back to the cafe in a minute. But so what do I do? Well, I don't suffocate my business by taking lots of money from it. Neither do the other shareholders, of which there are two: Lee Anderton, a silent partner, small shareholder. And now we have Brian Van Zvetering, who is another shareholder with me. And Brian, I don't even think he takes this. I don't even know. I don't even think he takes a salary, So we just take it really easy, and we make decisions that are for the benefit of the product and the customer, and not always decisions that are to the benefit of the wallet. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the business of making guitars. We'd be in the business of finance or IT or gaming or anything even slightly more lucrative.
Do you think that's a requirement for a niche guitar brand? I say niche, relative to the Fenders and the Gibsons of the world, to have that approach. And it's not just how can we pinch every penny from the consumer as possible through doing those things. Is that the kind of, I guess, a way to sustain yourself in that market as a more niche guitar brand?
It's not a sell a guitar and you're out situation for me, because I meet people who bought a Chapman guitar 10 years ago and they're like, oh my God, it's Rob Chapman. I love this guitar I bought. It's this MR3. Let me show you a photograph. I've played this for every gig in the last 10 years. And I'm thinking about buying the new Lawmaker Legacy. And I'm like, cool, man, that's really awesome. Have you tried the baritone version? It's got a rosewood neck. That's unusual. And we have a conversation. But what you don't want is someone to buy a guitar and then like, nah, I'm not really vibing on it, and I'm going to sell it on Reverb and then buy a Fender, and then they've left the Chapman circle. What I want is people that are really happy with their Chapman, that would want to stay playing Chapman, maybe buy a second or third guitar over their lifetime. So it's important to make decisions for the company and for the product that makes a guitar player feel like they would want to be part of the family. And if you've ever met me, you'll know that that really is the vibe. I mean, we're just idiots, Anyone that has met, me or P or Lee or Dan Orchard, our marketing guy, or we're just guys that gig. And I happen to be the founder of this guitar company, and I feel a weight of responsibility to make things that help my fellow bros get out there and make a few £100 in a pub,
Yeah. And another thing as well with the guitar market, It's quite a unique product in itself because it's so personal. The guitar buying experience, there are so many options in the market. I mean, thousands and thousands of different guitars you could buy, and each have a very unique value proposition in some way. Whether it's the branding, whether it's the shape, the how many strings there are, the pickup types. There are so many options you can
Yeah,
have, and it's not really like many other instruments. You think about buying, I don't know, a clarinet or a saxophone. You have a much more limited range of options typically, and there's an element of option paralysis, I suppose, on one side as a consumer, but as a developer of guitars as well, probably option paralysis in terms of what you could do with it. So, now you've got a quite focused product range. It'd be good to understand a bit about, why have you landed on those guitars that you have now, since
yeah.
that point of the cafe and the 500 sold.
Well, because I'm excited about them. Excitement is such an important thing in what I do. If I don't feel excited about a product, why am I why am I selling it? Do you know what I mean? What's the
Mm,
point? If I don't feel that vibe, that fire of like, oh yeah, I want to like check this out. I've got this other one over here. This is the one of the new iterations of the Ghost Fret. Oh, look at
very
it!
nice.
It's like a
Yeah.
transformer from a Michael Bay movie, and it's rosewood fingerboard, and it's a baked maple neck, and that we did this thing scarfing with a thing, and the volute is like it's a tasty little volute that doesn't get in the way, stainless steel frets, and I look at it and I'm like, I want to gig this bitch. I want to take this out and just play some music with the guys, and just when you get in a circle with a band in a big room and you get the hairs on the back and you get that vibe. That's what I need from a guitar.
Yeah.
So I make product that gives me that feeling. But then I want the opinion of the people that are involved in buying it, because I can't tell people what to buy.
Mm,
Who am I to tell people what guitar they should buy? And I think when you're selling a guitar, you're also, what you're really doing is you're selling a thing like a key that fits into the lock of the dream identity that the musician has. So are you a grungy blues guy that wants loud circuit through a Marshall? Think maybe this works for you. Are you a soloist, Satriani, saturated wah playing? Maybe you need a Lawmaker Legacy.
mm,
I think you're selling something that helps you condense your art and your dream into music. And if the guitar doesn't make you want to pick it up and play it, then it's failing at that job. There aren't
yeah.
many people that buy a guitar because it has the features they need. They buy a guitar the second they look at it and go, oh, yeah, because it fits with that vibe that they have about what they do. It resonates with them, pun intended.
Yeah,
You know,
it's quite difficult to develop products trying to achieve that vibe, isn't it? I mean, just that single, almost intangible thing that people feel, and it's so probably unique to each person as well. So it's definitely a challenge.
yeah, I mean, it's a bit like computer games. Not everybody wants to play Elden Ring for 35 hours because the world doesn't necessarily gel with them. They want something more zombie, sandbox, scripted, storyline. They don't want something open world. But I'm like, Elden Ring. I completed it yesterday. It took me 38 hours.
Guess.
I didn't want to complete it. I wanted to keep playing random
Mm,
stuff, crab hunt, go on do all this random stuff. Making a guitar is like that, because what you're doing is you're making a world that somebody would exist in when they're making art, music. So you have to approach it with feeling, not just with like, oh, is it going to have humbuckers? No, not a lot of people care.
yeah,
And in
exactly.
fact, if you make a product that doesn't have all the bits, very often people will just put a bit in it, which I
Mm,
like. I think that's
mm,
great. People should. I would encourage somebody to take a Chapman and then make it their own. just like all of the guys, like Joey and Luke, they all change a pickup, or they write their name, or they do something to the guitar. I got one guitar I gave to Luke. We got a gig tally on the headstock, so every time he gigs, he does a line.
The relicing aspect of guitars nowadays is definitely increased a huge amount over the last 10, 15 years from what I've seen. People intentionally scuff up their finish on the guitars to make it appear that it's been well used, and therefore it's got stories, and ideally it's your own knocking things in your own gigs and that sort of stuff to really personalize it. But
well, about the only other products where that happens, it tells you a lot about why we do it. People have worn jeans for years.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Why do they wear worn jeans or like slightly ripped? Or it's because they want that sense of, I've been on an adventure. I'm a bit rough and ready. I'm not sticking to the mainstream, clean, crisp. I mean, look at me. That's not what I am. So, I think I love relicked guitars. I love that my guitars get relicked through just being abused.
Yeah.
And at the end, I smacked that at one point. It's covered in belt buckle rash. I've got a bit that's really you won't be able to see it. There's a really shiny bit here where I've just gone for hours on it and made it become a thing. But look, guitars are just the little messengers of dreams and art, and it's a privilege to even make one, let alone hundreds. It blows my mind, man. Yeah. It really does.
Before I ask you a few questions about the specific manufacturing side, the cafe.
I've always dreamt of owning something like a cafe where you go into one building, you've got a little team, maybe 2 or 3 people, and you go to work at 9 or 8 or whatever, and you create amazing food. There's a little stage, people can go and perform. It's live streamed, like a creative hub for musicians that want a burger, and a great coffee. And I think that would be really fulfilling. But I never had the capital, and you can't expect a profit for at least 2 years with a thing like that. So, and now I live on Malta. There's a lot of competition with great cafes out here. I mean, the garage down the road has a 24-hour cafe with incredible coffee. It's a garage, a gas station.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that will ever come to fruition where I live now. Who knows? But it was a dream to have not a simpler life, but something a bit more contained and easy to manage, where there's still a creative outlet. But my band is just picking up and surprising / terrifying me. I got signed like 6 months ago, and I turned 50 this year. So I never expected any of that, and it's really changed a lot of the way that I'm having to structure my day and my year.
I mean, yeah, before I mentioned the manufacturing questions I had, just on that point, you got a business side of your life, and then you've got this creative, inspiring, musical output side of your life. And speaking from my own experience, I approach this podcast like a business. I have a 9 to 5 where I'm a product manager on a non-music product. But I also have multiple musical projects. I have, a passionate music-based YouTube channel. Music is a big part of my life, but I do sometimes struggle separating the business side of my brain from the creative and getting into that creative space while my world is just so business heavy. And I guess some ways that sometimes I manage to achieve it is by being inspired by great other music out there. Put on a vinyl record for an hour, just get sucked into that world, and that takes me out of the business world and into that creative space. But for you, how do you think about that balance? And is it very easy for you to make that switch?
I seem to just live in that world all the time. So there's no switch. That's a really interesting question. I am so obsessed with creative stuff. Even if I'm just making a pizza for my kids, I'll be like, oh, I could stuff the crust with sausage. There has to be something creative in what I'm doing. that I am continually immersed in the world of ideas for things that the ideas don't stop. In a way, that's kind of the problem. I am very good at knowing what I'm good at and what I'm not good at. And so I specialize. So at Chapman, I make videos, I do clinics, I come up with product ideas and nothing else. Maybe I talk with artists, because I'm interested.
Mm.
So my day to day is very much, I'm a dad. I get up, take the kids to school, make the breakfasts, get their lunch packed, drive them in, drop them off, go for breakfast myself, come back, and then I have a coffee, and then I get that vibe, and then I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to shoot a video. I don't even know what the video's about, but I'm going to shoot a video. Or, oh, I've got an idea. And I start drawing shapes. Or I start coming up with an idea for a semi-fretted neck. And that's just the direction I'm going in.
Mm.
I'm never sat down thinking, I wonder if I could maximize the profit by reducing the gauge of neck and using couldn't give a about that kind of thing. I think money is something that comes from the application of real passion in a genuine way, not something that you get from tweaking graphs and focusing on the money. I mean, I might be wrong, who am I? But I feel like if you pursue your passion genuinely, then I think that people appreciate the honesty and they want to be a part of what you do, and then they become a part of it by buying, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah. This definitely resonates with the conversation I had in the last podcast with Daniel Steinhardt from the Gig Rig. And he launched the Gig Rig based on just wanting to develop something which solved his own problem. And he was passionate about it. He didn't care about the commercials, nothing to do with the money in the slightest. It was just purely, I love this thing. I want to develop this thing.
Money is really just a stream of stuff that comes through when you get passion and hard work combined. It does take work, but if you don't focus on what you're really passionate about, you'll never get that cash. So the focus cannot be the cash. If I wanted my YouTube to make money, I wouldn't make videos about pizzas and sometimes Diablo and sometimes, I make every kind of video. That I don't put like one kind of video. It's, if you go to Rob Chapman YouTube channel, it's every kind of video about guitars, and sometimes not even about guitars. I'm creative and I'm passionate about making video. If I wanted to make money from YouTube, I would be doing, I don't know, gaming playthroughs or something.
Yeah, product demos just all day long. Yeah.
Well, no, I don't think they get views anymore. I think product has plateaued and reached, it's like if you go out and buy a consumer camera nowadays, they're all good. So technology's reached a plateau of just good. So I think people care less about product and are more focused on entertainment, fun, vibes, which is what Hot Ones, that kind of thing, is so big. and you'll definitely see a diminished lack of views on product demonstration. I mean, I don't watch product reviews anymore.
Yeah, my observation on that actually is, particularly in the last couple of years, I've noticed that there's a lot of key influencers, particularly in the guitar product space and guitar pedals and all that sort of stuff. And often when a new product is announced or released, you just get your subscriptions feed filled at exactly the same time, released by all these different influencers with the exact same products. X company has released Y product. And it's kind of, okay, which one do you want to watch, if any? It feels very forced and pushed.
Yeah, you'll notice that Chapman doesn't do that. I mean, I've been a product demonstrator for, my God, I'm old now, man. 15 years professionally. At one point, I was demonstrating product for Anderton's Toman and Guitar Center simultaneously. And I think I've done that. I think I've I think I've got to the point now where it's still fun if it's with somebody that I like and there's
Right.
a banter and a vibe. But otherwise, it's not really very fulfilling. And what I definitely avoid is the mass release demos. So you'll notice I'm never in any of those big demo releases because I refuse. It doesn't feel, I'm not in it for the money. I want to make money, but I'm not on that train. I'm
Yeah.
just a musician that plays in a band, releases music, plays out, does clinics. I'm a guitar player that sings, and the product and the business is a secondary aspect that I'm blessed to have worked. I'm a musician that used YouTube. I'm an entrepreneur that used YouTube. I'm not a YouTuber. I don't do any of the YouTuber things that you'd see a lot of YouTubers doing, like the big collaboration festivals, the jumping on the huge bandwagon of whatever's current.
Yeah.
I'm not really bothered by that kind of thing. Not to diss them. It's a world, but it's not one that I'm really interested in.
To go back to what I was going to ask you a little while ago around the manufacturing stuff, I'm aware that you've changed kind of direction a little bit over the last couple of years. I think you've moved your manufacturing to India. So obviously you made some big decisions moving to different countries to do different factories. Can you talk through, some of the reasons why you've gone that direction and what were the decisions that led up to that point?
So the only thing you can ever guarantee is change. Nothing ever stays the same. And what Chapman has experienced as a smaller brand is that when you get into a factory and then there are other fish in this pool, some of them are quite big, and they take precedence. So sometimes I have to be very politically sensitive here, but sometimes you might get pushed to the back of the queue or even pushed out. And sometimes they don't want you in that factory. Sometimes they remove you by force or by other means, politically or financially. Sometimes the factory will they'll have a brain drain to another factory, and then they'll start to bring in seasonal workers. That doesn't work. Sometimes the country will have a problem, like a volcano. That's what we had. And there are all sorts of things that can go wrong when you manufacture overseas. And so you need to just be open-minded about moving, because if you're not, what are you going to do when it hits the fan? So we try as much as possible to navigate where is the most practical and where the product is the best. It's not really a financial decision. It's more of a, will the product be good? Do you know what I mean? I will also say that Chapman definitely was one of the first brands to really take you into the factories and show you the factories. I mean, I personally did 3 factory tour videos to show people where we were because I felt that was important to share with people. And other brands didn't really like that because they were in some factories too. But I was like, no, this is good. Let's show you where they're made. Let me show you the guy that sands my necks, And viewers, you can go on YouTube and look up Chapman factory tour, and you'll find 3 or 4 videos, Indonesia, Korea, India. I go there because you have to if you care about your guitars, because you've got to make sure that what you're paying for is what you get and that the staff are being looked after, treated and respected. And you need to know that you got the real deal, because I could never make a guitar and have it be amazing and then find out that the staff were just like badly treated. I'd be like, oh my God, can't with any of that. So we move whenever we need to. Incidentally, and I know that you know this, but almost every guitar company in sort of A, B, and C level, they're making in 7 or 8 different factories. and they'll part build in a cheaper one and then send it to a more expensive one.
Mm.
All of them. We use one factory at a time. We do everything there, and we tell everyone where we are, and we keep it open and honest because we're an honest company. But there are lots of companies. I mean, how many factories are Fender building in?
Yeah, sure.
Where are the American guitars made? where is Gibson built? Where is Epiphone built? I mean, I know these because I've seen
Mm.
product in places that you would believe
Yeah. So
was
is that essentially other factory specific companies looking after many different guitar brands under their own factory, and it's all kind of sharing the similar manufacturing lines, or?
everything's OEM, bro.
Yeah, yeah, right.
I mean, there aren't. I don't know of many guitar brands that own a factory, with the
Mm.
exception of Music Man, Mayones. In terms of like big
Yeah, right.
mass-produced stuff, I mean, it's a rarity for a brand to own a factory. It's a risk because there's so many staff.
Yeah, the outlay as well, I guess, to get it up and running is just a huge cost as well.
Well, that's just like capital up front, isn't it? You can
Mm.
get that from a bank or from an angel or whatever. But it's more like, lots can go wrong.
Yeah.
and and then it's prudent to OEM to make money on the side, and then that takes you off of course. So we just OEM. I did think really seriously about doing our own factory at one point, and we got really close, and then we were like, oh, nah. We were going to do it in Brighton, actually
Mm.
Hove. Then we would have, get a CNC, blah blah blah, and just get on with it. But we didn't do it last minute, and thank God we didn't. It would have crippled us financially, And for what? I mean, the guitars. It's I've said this before, but where was this guitar made? Do you know where this was made?
I'm assuming India now, or yeah,
You're right. But when I showed this to Sweetwater, they were like, "Wow, which part of Korea is it made in?"
yeah,
And then I showed someone else, and they went, "So is this in Indonesia?" And then someone else went, "Is this a new American Chapman?" It doesn't matter where it's made. It's how good is the CNC. It's not where is it made.
yeah,
This guitar doesn't care which part of the planet it was made on. It cares whether it was made by people that even know what a guitar is.
yeah, yeah.
It sounds like a stupid thing, but there are some factories where they don't even know what guitar is.
Mm. A slight tangent for a moment. You've also just released a guitar amp, which is nothing to do with what we've talked about so far in guitars. So, as a slightly different direction of conversation, I mean, what led you to start a valve amplification product? I mean, is it again another case of you had someone reach out to you and say, "Rob, love to do this with you. Let's do this," or was this something that you instigated? What was the story behind it?
I got drunk in a hotel foyer with a guy from Belgium, and it turned out that he was an unbelievable amplifier manufacturer, like one of the world's best. I had no
Mm.
idea. We just had drinks, shots, chatted stuff. I speak a bit of French. We were chatting in French, and I really liked him. And he said, "Oh, come up and see my amps." And I went to see them at Guitar Summit and was just completely blown away. And then he said, "I want to make you an amp," and I was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want to make it for Chapman. Let me just make an amp. Don't pay me. I just want to make an amp. I love Dorje. I love Rob Chapman. I love Clockwork Wolf Company. I love Monkey Lord. I love all your music. I know exactly how you play. I know exactly the kind of tones you need. Let me cook." And I was like, "Cook." And he made Proto One by everything's made by hand. Everything is built to order. It's phenomenal. It really is.
Very pretty.
Yeah, it's great. So I've made amps before with other brands. I've made 4 amplifiers before. And having gone through that process, I was quite familiar with the process of making an amplifier. But I'd never done it with Chapman. I had always shied away from it. I love amps, sometimes more than guitars, So it was really cool to find somebody as passionate as me, but highly skilled, ready to make an amp for us. So we OEM through AMS in Brussels. His name's Ben Genot, and he's just a phenomenal guy. He's the kind of person that you can say, it's a little bit saggy when I do this thing, and he goes, okay, I get it. I need to tweak this part, He's like an interpreter, because I'm just I'm a musician. So I'm like, hey, when I do this, I hear that, and it's flatting out on this thing, and I'm using a language to describe what I'm hearing, and I'm blessed to have good hearing. And then Ben would say, okay, I think this needs this, and then it's done, and it's perfect. And what we've ended up with is the best amp I own. And I've got quite a lot of amps, so I'm really happy with that. It's really expensive. It's mega boutique. They're all hand built to order. It is not a mission to sell 1,000 amplifiers and make $1 million. It is, let's just make a brilliant amp.
To wrap things up, Rob, because I know we're basically out of time, it'd be really good just to give your final thoughts for everyone listening, just general thoughts and ideas, seeds for them to think about after this podcast. Maybe they want to start a business, maybe they're interested in developing content around, in a similar way that you've done, and really grow an audience in that way. What final thoughts can you leave people with?
Try to be useful. So whatever you do, try to make it as useful as possible. If you are making content, Rick Beato taught me to make content with a built-in audience. So rather than my favorite top 10 riffs, it would be top 10 Metallica riffs. I'm just giving you an example. There's a built-in audience. Make sure that whatever you do is measurable and measured, because things that get measured get done. And if you don't set some kind of way of measuring it, then you'll never get it done. But pretty much anything is possible if you look at the end result you're after and create the steps back to it, and then achieve them one at a time. And then the last thing is, the whole point of all of this is to create community and friends. If you're not doing that, I don't think ultimately you'll be relaxed and happy and peaceful. So you'll be fighting for money. I'd rather not be doing that. I'd rather eat pizza on a beach with a bunch of bros and know that I have a happy, relaxing time making stuff that I'm proud of,
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say also, I should say, thank you very much for watching my bullshit videos and following what I do, and, to you personally, but also to people that might watch this. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Yeah, really appreciate it, Rob. And for those who are maybe not so familiar with yourself, where can people find yourself and Chapman Guitars online?
YouTube. I think I'm Rob Chappers on YouTube, Chappers, because my nickname at school was Chappers, because my surname is Chapman. And Chapman Guitars is chapmanguitars.co.uk. And I have a single coming out tomorrow called Morning of the Owl, Mourning. My band is now called Rob Chapman.
Awesome. Well, it should be live by the time this is released, so good stuff.
Yeah,
awesome. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Take care.